Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz met on the set of Too Many Girls in 1940. The chemistry was instant. But behind the curtain, was it true love or something else entirely? Drop a 1 if you always believed their love story was real, or a 0 if you suspected there was more to it than meets the eye. Because what we've uncovered about their off-screen connection will change the way you watch I Love Lucy forever. Secret relationship exposed. The question still echoes among fans. Did Desi cheat on Lucy? Their picture-perfect family image on television masked a complex reality that haunted them for years. I Love Lucy made its CBS debut in October 1951, and audiences instantly connected with this charming couple who seemed to have everything. But the real story behind this Emmy-winning show that ran 6 successful seasons from 1951 to 1957 painted a different picture. Desi Arnaz's fame grew, and so did his reputation as a womanizer. Lucille Ball suffered quietly through his unfaithfulness. Their marriage lasted almost 2 decades before they finally divorced in 1960. Life behind closed doors was nowhere near the ideal relationship Americans watched on their TV screens. The couple welcomed 2 children, daughter Lucy in 1951 and son Desi Jr. in 1953. Yet their relationship struggled under the weight of serious problems that eventually pulled them apart. Desi's drinking habits made things worse, creating a dramatic gap between their public persona and private struggles. Lucille Ball meets Desi Arnaz on set of Too Many Girls. RKO Studios witnessed the beginning of an extraordinary love story in 1940. Lucille Ball, a 28-year-old contract player, met Desi Arnaz, a 23-year-old Cuban bandleader, during the production of Too Many Girls. This chance encounter on a film set ended up creating one of Hollywood's most famous and complicated love stories. Their first meeting lacked any fairy tale elements. Ball had just wrapped up a fight scene for Dance Girl Dance and wore her costume when she ran into Arnaz at RKO Pictures commissary. Both of them had serious relationships with other people at the time. The pairing seemed improbable. Ball preferred dating taller, older men, and Arnaz already had an engagement. They came from different worlds. She was a Hollywood actress still waiting for her big break, while he was a Cuban musician whose family escaped their homeland in 1933. The ice broke when Arnaz asked Ball about rumba dancing. His quick demonstration caught her attention, leading to his smooth proposition. "I can teach you quickly, but only on condition that you go out with me tonight," according to Warren G. Harris's biography. Ball knew about Arnaz from his Broadway performance in Too Many Girls, but meeting him stirred unexpected feelings. Arnaz didn't mince words about his attraction, describing Ball as a hunk of a woman. Their chemistry proved so powerful that within a week they left their partners and moved in together. Ball later described their connection, "I never fell in love with anyone quite so fast. He was very handsome and romantic." She also shared, "When you fall in love immediately and violently as we did, you fall in love with your sense of sight and sound and touch and smell." Ball and Arnaz's attraction became obvious to everyone on set. Eddie Bracken, their Too Many Girls co-star, remembered, "You could tell the sparks were flying with Lucy." Most people doubted their relationship would last. Bracken added, "It happened so fast it seemed it wouldn't last. Everybody on the set made bets about how long it would last." The film that brought them together barely showed them sharing scenes. Reviews pointed out that they have virtually no interaction. In stark comparison to this, they weren't even cast as love interests in the movie. 2 dates was all it took for Ball and Arnaz to end their previous relationships. Their romance moved at breakneck speed. Ball declared in an interview she would stay a bachelor girl, but Arnaz simply stated, "So we're going to get married." Ball's devotion to Arnaz surprised many people. Actress and friend Ruta Lee remembered, "I found it surprising because she was such a strong, independent lady, but when it came to Desi, she was very old-fashioned. If he wanted something, she'd get it. If they sat down together and he needed more space, she'd scoot over." Arnaz understood Ball in a unique way, according to biographer Kathleen Brady. She felt understood by him in a way that I think no one else did. Notwithstanding that trouble lurked beneath their passion from the start. Their hot, steamy romance and sexual chemistry came with a lot of arguing and a lot of heartache. Ball and Arnaz eloped 6 months after meeting. This brief courtship would pale in comparison to their complex 2-decade marriage. Their passionate beginning hinted at the stormy relationship ahead, raising questions like, did Desi cheat on Lucy? And why did Lucy and Desi divorce? Love I Love Lucy. Want more raw, unfiltered stories behind your favorite stars? Click subscribe and hit the bell icon because we're uncovering the truth behind the legends one untold story at a time. Desi Arnaz proposes after cheating scandal. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's whirlwind romance took an unexpected turn right after they met. Their relationship started with intense attraction, but soon faced its first big challenge when work pulled them apart. After Too Many Girls wrapped up filming, Arnaz went back to Chicago for a stage play while Ball left for a promotional tour. This short time apart changed everything in their new relationship. Rumors spread that Arnaz had gotten back together with his old flame, the famous actress and pin-up model Betty Grable. Ball didn't wait around when she heard these rumors. She stormed into the apartment he shared with his then-divorced mother to abuse him as Arnaz faced her anger over what he'd done. Her emotions boiled over, and she called Arnaz a Cuban son of a bitch. This heated moment became the first documented answer to the question, did Desi cheat on Lucy? Evidence shows he did even this early in their relationship. Sadly, this behavior would repeat itself throughout their marriage. Arnaz saw he might lose Ball because he couldn't stay faithful. He made a surprising move. Instead of a heartfelt apology or promises to change, he suggested they should get married to resolve their difficulties, basically putting a Band-Aid on their problems. This quick-fix proposal showed how they'd handle relationship problems for years to come. I never fell in love with anyone quite so fast. Ball later shared about their intense connection. He was very handsome and romantic, but he also frightened me. He was so wild. I knew I shouldn't have married him, but that was one of the biggest attractions. Ball might not have realized that Arnaz's behavior came from his family's history. Warren G. Harris, who wrote Lucy and Desi, the legendary love story of television's most famous couple, explained that Arnaz had a taste for prostitutes. This unfaithful behavior ran in his family. His father and grandfather both kept numerous mistresses. Marriage as a fix for cheating worked for a while. They got married on November 30th, 1940, just 6 months after they first met. The real problems stayed buried beneath the surface. Arnaz made his views on faithfulness crystal clear later on. Marriage is okay, but adultery is more fun, he said bluntly. Just ask Lucy. These harsh words showed he couldn't stay faithful even though he truly loved Ball. By 1944, just 4 years into their marriage, Ball couldn't take Arnaz's constant infidelity anymore and filed for divorce. The night before her court date, Arnaz took her to dinner at Mocambo. One passionate night later, Ball still went to court but ran back to Arnaz right after, which canceled the divorce under California law. Arnaz had a strange way of justifying his actions throughout their relationship. What's she upset about? I don't take out other broads, he told a friend. I just take out hookers. Their daughter Lucy later backed this up. People say he had affairs. He never had an affair. He didn't even know these dames' names. They were hookers. This weird logic, that paying for sex somehow wasn't really cheating, showed how Arnaz saw his marriage differently. Writer Bob Weisskopf explained it best. Basically, Desi's attitude was, what the hell's the matter, I love her. When I go out with women, they're usually hookers. Those don't count. This pattern of cheating and making up that started during their courtship lasted through their almost 20-year marriage. It answers the question, why did Lucy and Desi divorce? The couple elopes with a brass ring from Woolworth's. Lucy Ball and Desi Arnaz's whirlwind romance led to a decision that changed their lives forever. They eloped to Connecticut on November 30th, 1940, just 6 months after they met. The couple exchanged their vows at Greenwich's Byram River Beagle Club. The couple had several reasons to rush into marriage. RKO Studios didn't want Ball to marry a Cuban, worried it would hurt her all-American girl image. On top of that, their relationship had already faced a serious cheating scandal, so they felt pressure to cement their commitment. The timing tells its own story. They only had a 5-day break in Arnaz's band tour schedule. This small window left them no time to plan a traditional wedding. People close to them say they picked Connecticut because they could get married right away, unlike other states that made couples wait. Ball's mother Dee Dee's disapproval played a big role in their decision. "My mother was opposed to the marriage, so was his mother," Ball said later. Their parents' resistance pushed them toward eloping instead of planning a formal ceremony where family members would question if they belonged together. Their quick wedding matched their spontaneous personalities. Both tended to follow their hearts rather than their heads, a pattern that defined their relationship. Ball had sworn she'd stay a bachelor girl, but she did a complete turnaround with this sudden marriage. Ball seemed to accept the potential problems ahead. One friend noted, "She went into it with her eyes open. She knew, did Desi cheat on Lucy would likely become a question she'd face repeatedly throughout their marriage." Their unusual marriage had an equally unusual symbol, a brass ring from Woolworth's 5 and dime store that cost just 20 cents. This simple ring stood in sharp contrast to their later Hollywood glamour. Ball treasured this humble ring throughout her life, even after getting fancier jewelry. She saw it as a symbol of their real beginning, rough around the edges, but genuine. "I married him against everyone's advice, but I fell in love with him the moment I saw him," she explained later. This cheap ring reflected their modest financial situation back then. Neither had achieved the success and wealth that I Love Lucy would bring. Their simple start was worlds away from their future status as TV royalty and owners of Desi Productions. Years later, when people asked how long Lucy and Desi were married, the brass ring served as a reminder of where they started. The temporary ring lasted longer than expected, much like their marriage that survived almost 20 years despite ongoing problems with Desi Arnaz cheating and alcohol abuse. Their hasty, low-budget wedding contrasted sharply with the perfect marriage they portrayed on TV. This gap between their private struggles and public image became their relationship's hallmark. The simple brass ring from Woolworth's told their whole story. A relationship that was spontaneous yet lasting, started poor but ended rich, looked perfect on screen but faced real troubles behind the scenes. Lucille Ball fights to cast Desi in I Love Lucy. In the year 1950, a profound opportunity presented itself that would permanently alter the course of television history. Lucille Ball was asked by CBS to adapt her renowned radio comedy My Favorite Husband for television. Richard Denning, who also appeared on the show, was also a co-star on the radio. This offered Ball not just the opportunity to develop in her job, but also the possibility of getting her marriage back on track. From Ball's perspective, the television offer was the ideal opportunity to collaborate with her spouse in real life. To make her position crystal clear to the network, she stated, "I only want to do a television show if Desi can be in it with me and play my husband." A strategic desire to maintain a close relationship with her cheating spouse was the motivation for her plea, which went beyond professional objectives. Individuals who were familiar with their marriage were able to comprehend Ball's position. The play was conceived in part with the intention of preserving their marriage. Lucy was really troubled by the fact that Desi was free to engage in sexual activity away from home since he was traveling. Anything she could do to keep Desi at home and away from temptation she would do. She had even succeeded in persuading Bob Hope to recruit Arnaz as the bandleader for his radio program. Those in charge of CBS found themselves in a difficult situation. However, they were hesitant to select Arnaz because they wanted to showcase Ball's comic abilities on television. In the 1950s, xenophobic sentiments were prevalent in the United States, which led to their rejection. The officials of the network sent her the following direct message: "The public would not believe that I was married to Desi." They were skeptical that viewers would be willing to accept a Cuban man who was married to an all-American beauty. As was the case with her radio program, the network favored pairing Ball with an all-American spouse role. The character in question was a bank executive, and Arnaz even conceded that there was no way I could play that guy. Ball and Arnaz maintained their resolve in the face of this opposition. In order to demonstrate their on-stage chemistry, they devised a vaudeville-style routine which demonstrated both their determination and knowledge of business. This show was written by Carroll and Pugh, and it included comedic routines that were performed with Arnaz's orchestra. The two took their performance on the road, performing at a variety of places, one of which being the Ritz Theater in Newburgh, New York. The objective of their tour was twofold. First, it demonstrated the professional connection that they shared as a team, and second, it allowed Ball to continue touring with her husband in order to keep him out of trouble. Even though they worked together professionally, there was still a feeling that Desi Arnaz was cheating on her partner. Despite this, they were successful in their endeavors, as their performance was praised immensely. It was described as by far the best show of its kind I've ever seen, by the Broadway columnist covering the play for The Hollywood Reporter. The performances persuaded Harry Ackerman, an executive at CBS, that the American public would enthusiastically accept a coupling between Ball and Arnaz. On the other hand, by the time the first season was over, the show had already reached approximately 11 million homes, which is more than two-thirds of households that had television sets. The initial reviews were not very positive. The winning pitch was conceived by Jess Oppenheimer, who is known as the brains behind the show. She proposed the following: "Why don't we do a show about a middle-class working stiff who works very hard at his job as a band leader and likes nothing better than to come home at night and relax with his wife who doesn't like staying at home and is dying to get into show business herself?" In 1950, the pair demonstrated their commitment by establishing Desi Productions, which was the first independent television production firm. They further demonstrated their commitment by investing $5,000 of their own money to make a pilot. Arnaz was able to deftly gain ownership rights to the program despite the fact that CBS agreed to their requirements after the performers submitted to a wage drop. On March 2, 1951, they shot a pilot film that ultimately demonstrated to the network that one of their shows had the potential to be successful. The perseverance of Ball was rewarded with success. Not only did the American people welcome Arnaz, but they also embraced him as one of the most significant artists of the age. Desi Arnaz's affairs and drinking spiral out of control. During the early 1950s, the popularity of the television show I Love Lucy reached unprecedented heights. On-screen chemistry between the pair concealed a distinct reality that could be seen behind the scenes. In the wake of Desi Arnaz's rise to fame and money, his behavior took a sudden turn for the worst, revealing his most reprehensible tendencies. During the middle of the 1950s, there was no room for uncertainty regarding the answer to the question, did Desi cheat on Lucy? Among Hollywood circles, everyone was aware of his infidelity. In a heartbreaking article titled, "Does Desi Really Love Lucy?" that was published in Confidential magazine, Desi's womanizing was brought to light. Because Arnaz scarcely made an effort to conceal his affairs with prostitutes and showgirls, Ball was subjected to an even greater degree of humiliation. Narratives regarding Arnaz's infidelity circulated to such a degree that his mother-in-law intervened in the situation. According to reports, Dee had confronted him about his conduct, but Arnaz just shrugged it off and asked, "What do you want for me to be president of CBS, president of Desi, and a faithful husband? I am unable to do all of that." He demonstrated that he placed a higher importance on the success of his firm than he did on his marital vows. Arnaz occasionally made attempts to conceal his affairs, but they were only half-hearted. He was frequently discovered due to his recklessness. She discovered lipstick on his collar, which was a typical clue that verified her concerns about what he did away from home. Ball's worst worries came true when she discovered lipstick on his collar. The worsening of his drinking coincided with the worsening of his womanizing. Because of the combination, a downward spiral was generated. As someone who was known for his partying, Arnaz would remain out drinking until the wee hours of the morning, and then he would show up to work fatigued. As a result of the drinking, he was unable to exercise self-control, and was able to justify his behavior. Desi Arnaz affairs were more likely to occur due to the fact that he spent a significant amount of time in nightclubs. After he had finished performing with his band, he allowed himself to be influenced by alcohol and accessible women. Because of the severity of his drinking addiction, Ball was unable to overlook the negative impact it had on their marriage and their business. The person who was linked to the industry predicted that Arnaz would become loaded and disappear for many days. In the midst of her emotional suffering, Ball was responsible for handling business affairs on her own. Each and every one of his drinking binges was followed by tears, apologies, and phony vows to modify his behavior. During these difficult years, Ball discovered strategies to deal with the betrayals that her spouse had committed. As soon as she learned of each affair, she immediately dove headfirst into her job. The hectic pace of I Love Lucy served as a getaway from the difficulties brought on by her marriage. Those who inquired about the reasons for Lucy and Desi's divorce received thoughtful responses from Ball. Instead of talking about their achievement at work, she chose to speak about it. In public, she was expected to maintain the appearance of a happy marriage despite the fact that she was going through a difficult time in her personal life. Ball's friends saw that she had become quite skilled at separating her feelings. The betrayals committed by Arnaz were kept apart from their work together by her. She buried herself in her work, a close friend of hers stated. The show became both her refuge and her prison. The response to the question, "How long were Lucy and Desi married?" reveals a lengthy and intricate narrative. Although on paper their marriage lasted for over 20 years, the emotional connection between them had been broken long before they divorced. In spite of this, Ball continued to hold out hope for a turnaround. Even after Arnaz demonstrated that he was incapable of remaining true, she clung to the memory of their passionate early days together. In the late 1950s, Ball's famed capacity for forgiveness was put to the test. The conduct of Arnaz did not exhibit any indications of improvement. Their predicament eventually led to the dissolution of the most famous marriage in the history of television. Their marriage deteriorates behind the scenes. The most popular television pair in the United States had a dark reality that was kept concealed from the public. Every week, millions of people tuned in to see Lucy and Ricky Ricardo's hilarious and affectionate interactions with one another. It had become a violent battleground of emotions, accusations, and physical clashes between Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and their genuine relationship had become a volatile battleground at that point. They swiftly escalated their verbal fighting into physical altercations with one another. The roof-raising temper of Ball was said to be comparable to the explosive outbursts of Arnaz as stated by their acquaintances. "She loves to hurt a man," said Maury Thompson, the playwright for the show, who also shared Ball's violent temperament. "Desi has been kicked in the nuts on several occasions by her. Just completely dominated him." In response, she laughed. In one distressing instance, Ball used a hammer to strike her husband senseless, causing him to lose consciousness. Ball's rage extended beyond the confines of their house. She is said to have struck a pimp in the face at a party in Hollywood after discovering that he had arranged prostitutes for her husband. The set of I Love Lucy was also witness to her erratic behavior. Her makeup artist was once smacked by her, and she was known to fling scripts with abandon. During these trying years, their daughter Lucy was around and observed them. She subsequently verified that her parents were often arguing with one another when they were growing up. There was a great deal of rage and yelling to be heard. Due to the fact that Desi's infidelity had become a fact of their marriage, the issue of whether or not he had cheated on Lucy was no longer a question that required a response. During the year 1944, Ball made an effort to dissolve the marriage by applying for divorce. By citing Arnaz's infidelity and heavy drinking as the cause, she explained her decision. More strain was placed on their relationship as a result of his traveling schedule, which required him to be absent for extended periods of time. Arnaz would get home from concerts at precisely the same time that Ball wanted to leave for the studio, which caused their work schedules to conflict. The night before they were to finalize their divorce, an unexpected change of events occurred. An invitation to a farewell dinner in Beverly Hills was extended to Ball by Arnaz. The fact that they wound up in bed together after the meal is evidence that their chemistry is indisputable. Arnaz was perplexed when Ball woke up the next morning and he informed her, "I told you I'm divorcing you this morning." Ball was in a state of panic. The judge issued the divorce decree when she went to court and presented it to him. Immediately after returning to Arnaz's bed, Ball did so, which according to the laws of California, rendered the entire divorce null and void. The state issued a decree that prohibited cohabitation for a period of 1 year, which was a temporary term. The definitive solution to the question of why Lucy and Desi divorced was delayed for an additional 16 years as a result of this legal twist. Despite the fact that Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's marriage ultimately failed behind closed doors, their public image remained unaffected. Despite the fact that their personal lives were falling apart due to adultery and regular conflicts, the well-liked television couple in the United States of America tried very hard to maintain their public looks. Why did Lucy and Desi divorce remain a secret? Their daughter Lucy later revealed, "They were fighting all the time when we were growing up." But audiences knew nothing about these problems. Biographer Bart Andrews noted that by 1956, it wasn't even a marriage anymore. The couple simply went through a routine to protect their children. Ball herself admitted that for the last 5 years of their marriage it was just booze and broads. Money played a big role in their decision to hide their troubles. I Love Lucy has grown into TV's biggest hit with millions of devoted fans. Both stars knew that news of Arnaz's affairs could destroy the empire they built together. Ball's most painful memory came from "When I got divorced and disappointed millions of people by doing so." These words showed how well she understood the gap between what fans expected and what really happened. Their success had trapped them into maintaining a perfect image that no longer matched reality. The couple showed a united front as their marriage crumbled. They performed their roles perfectly on set, whatever personal battles raged off camera. A damaging 1955 Confidential magazine article titled, "Does Desi Really Love Lucy?" questioned Arnaz's faithfulness, yet they kept working together. Ball's response to the magazine showed her pain. Her publicist recalled she tossed the magazine to Desi and said, "Oh, hell, I could tell them worse than that." Despite her brave face, friends saw how deeply hurt she felt. The couple's commitment to appearances ran so deep that they filmed their final Lucy-Desi Comedy Hour episode while divorce papers sat with their lawyers. Ball recalled, "When the scene arrived and the cameras closed in for that final embrace, we just looked at each other, and then Desi kissed me, and we both cried." They divorce, but remain emotionally connected. In 1960, after 20 years of marriage and pioneering one of the most influential sitcoms in history, Lucille and Desi divorced. The split shocked fans, many of whom couldn't separate their real-life identities from Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. Yet, even as their romantic bond unraveled, their emotional connection never truly faded. Desi later confessed, "I Love Lucy" was never just a title, and Lucille, in one of her final interviews, said of Desi, "He was the love of my life." Their lives post-divorce took different paths. Lucille remarried and made history as the first woman to head a major TV studio, Desilu Productions, which produced hits like Star Trek and Mission Impossible. Desi retreated more into private life, battling alcoholism, but always keeping a fond place in his heart for Lucy. Despite their distance, they remained in touch, sharing holiday greetings and occasional phone calls. When Desi was dying of cancer in 1986, Lucille called him almost daily. According to their daughter, Lucy Arnaz, Lucy was on the phone with Desi the night before he died saying, "I love you one last time." She whispered through tears, "I love you. I always have," and he said it back. That phone call was their final moment. But what happened next stunned even their family. A bundle of letters found tucked inside a drawer in Desi's home revealed the private conversations they shared for decades after their divorce, intimate, longing, honest. One note read simply, "No one made me laugh like you did Red. Beyond their turbulent romance, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz were trailblazers. Lucille changed comedy with her impeccable timing, physical humor, and fierce independence. She inspired generations of women in entertainment from Carol Burnett to Tina Fey. Desi, often undercredited, revolutionized TV production. He invented the multi-camera sitcom format still used today and fought for Ball's role in I Love Lucy at a time when networks objected to their interracial marriage. Together, they changed the DNA of television. Apart, they proved that love, though sometimes complicated, can survive even after vows are broken. Their legacy is etched not only in reruns, but in the very shape of modern comedy. They taught us how to laugh, how to cry, and how to carry love forward, even when the spotlight fades. Their love wasn't perfect. It was messy, painful, passionate, but real. And in the end, it endured. Do you think Lucille and Desi were soulmates despite everything? Let us know in the comments, type yes or no, and tell us why. Like this video if you believe in timeless love, and subscribe for more Hollywood stories that were never meant to be told. Because behind every laugh track is a truth that still echoes today.